So this is going to be the modeling chocolate. This is the melted chocolate and I'm using almond bark. You can see how already nice and smooth it is. I'm going to use Karo syrup and just a little bit at a time. You don't want to put too much in there at first. So I'm just going to put a little bit and mix it and then see the consistency that I get. And you just want to stir it around. You'll be able to feel the hesitation from it, which lets you know that it's setting up pretty nicely. As you can see, it's not as smooth and runny as it was before. It's tightened up. Add a little bit more corn syrup just to get it where I want it. You don't want it to be too loose and you don't want it to be too thick. It's going to be at the end point as a dough. So it'll be like a fondant dough at the end point, but you don't want it, like I said, to be too thick or too runny. So just a tad bit more corn syrup and that should do it. And as you can see, it's giving resistance. It's coming away from the bowl and forming a dough. So this is what you want, because at the end, after you're done with it, you're going to put it in the refrigerator and you can either let it sit overnight or you can let it stay in there for an hour to actually set up. Your dough will be a little hard, but it will soften up as you play with it and mold it between your hands, because it still is essentially chocolate. And with chocolate and warm fingers, it will warm it up. So you will be able to work with it. And if not, you can always pop it in the microwave just for a couple of seconds, 3 to 4 seconds at a time, just to soften it up. You should not remelt it, just enough to soften it up to make it a pliable dough that you want to work with. Once it's done, then it will harden back up to the stage that it was, just like if you use fondant pieces. So when you're done, you're just going to wrap it in saran wrap, make sure it's good and tight, and then I set it in the refrigerator either overnight or at least an hour if I'm ready to use it that same day. You can see how very loose it is and how I was able to bend it. Once it's out of the refrigerator, it will be kind of rock hard. So you will need to let it sit out for 30 minutes to an hour before you use it or microwave it. Now here we're going to make colored chocolate. Same thing. Melt my almond bark. You can see how smooth it is. And this is what you're going to do with any color. So not just the black. And I have a mirror color. I usually like to use the chameleon because you don't need as much. But depending on your color, we're using black here. So, I started with a good amount first. If you're using, any other color, if you want to do a purple or blue, of course, those colors you would use a white chocolate. I'm using a brown chocolate because I want to color it black. So I want it already to have that deep dark color to it. So as I said, if you want to, make any other colors, I would suggest using the white almond bark and starting with a little color until you get the color that you want. You can also color it if you just make plain white. You can still color it after it's done. I like to color mine as I'm doing it That's one less step that I have to worry about. So, like I said, before I add my corn syrup to it, I want to color it first. And sometimes, depending on your ratio of color to chocolate, sometimes your chocolate will try to seize up on you because it's just too much added in at one time. But with this situation, it's not a problem because we basically want to seize up our chocolate anyway. Just a little more black. And you could also use the black candy color, like with Wilton's, they have the black candy color. You could also use that, and honestly, that could be ideal to use if you're doing that, because lately Wilton's candy melts haven't been melting really smoothly. People have been having issues with them, not being as smooth. So with that case, that would be a good chocolate to start modeling chocolate with. And that way you can go ahead and use the colors and you don't have to worry about coloring it. And now I'm going to add my corn syrup, like I said, just a little at a time, just like before, until we get the consistency that we want. You don't want it too wet and you don't want it too dry. You want it like just in between. As I said, the Wilton candy melts, they're already colored, so that'll also save you one less step. You'll just have to melt and add your corn syrup and mix until your consistency is where you need it to be. And I'm actually, I just make a small batch because you don't need much. I usually use these, when I'm making Rice Krispies or anything that I'm using that is covered in chocolate. I like to use modeling chocolate to make my accent pieces, as I would like if I were doing it with fondant, but I would just prefer to use it with chocolate since I've already dipped it in chocolate as well. And there we have our black modeling chocolate made from our chocolate almond bark. And just like with before, we're going to go ahead and wrap this in saran wrap and stick it in the refrigerator so that it can set up the way it needs to be. And with modeling chocolate, it's basically a pliable dough made from chocolate, so which would work the exact same as fondant. So there you have it, your modeling chocolate, colored and uncolored, correct ratio 4-1 for regular chocolate, 2-1 for dark chocolate. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, hit the like button, let me know if you have any comments. I appreciate you guys watching. Bye.